Well, the offseason is here, but guess what? The offseason is where so much stuff happens. And that's why Padres Hot Tub keeps rolling. And that's why our Padres Hot Tub Patreon community keeps rolling as well. Patreon.com/Padres Hot Tub, a community that continues to grow even as the Padres have been eliminated for 2025, because whether it's Mike Shildt today or who knows what tomorrow, there's always something to talk about in the off season. And guys, a day like today just reminds you about how the community comes together at spontaneous moments at patreon.com/Padres Hot Tub.
Yeah. I spent about an hour of my day today just posting dank memes in the Discord.
You were on fire, bro.
Mike Shildt.
You were Michael Jordan in the playoffs today.
It's like I forget that I have a album on my phone on the Photos app that's just Padres memes that I've been collecting since 2019 so that I can send them off if I need to access. And so I was like pulling out Bud Black memes that I had, and like I was just like, all right, let's do it. So yeah, if like Chris, I think you posted it yourself in the Discord. You literally said days like today are like why I'm so glad this place exists.
Man, I lost an hour talking about this right away, and I don't know where else that would have happened without the Padres Hot Tub Discord. I mean, everything, speculation about the motivation for why AJ Preller obviously fired another manager, to most people just well-wishing Mike Shildt and being a little worried about him, after this kind of certainly odd and out of the normal statement got put out. But yeah, it was just a lot of fun in there. I had a great time in what would have just been like me texting my friends otherwise.
Plus, we do bonus podcasts just for our patrons. In fact, Banter the Show restarted. We just recorded a 90-minute podcast that is exclusive for our patrons, and as they are about to find out, is a ton of fun as well. That's a new exclusive show for our patrons. Our group therapies, our post-game shows are always recorded live on our Discord. Our ticket marketplace is a great place even in the off season if you're looking for SDFC tickets or concert. I mean, this is a community that shares with one another. It's organic, it's growing, and you can be a part of it for as little as $5. So check it out. Patreon.com/Padres Hot Tub. Welcome to the Padres Hot Tub, everybody.
This is an emergency episode of the Padres Hot Tub Radio Network.
Greg Elston, Chris Reed, Raphie Cantor. A few patrons told me they really wanted us to say,
this is an emergency podcast.
Even though we had scheduled it to be recorded this afternoon, and sure enough, we're recording it Monday afternoon, October 13th. So not an emergency to us, I guess, but an emergency topic to be sure. Our planned Who Are the Outgoing Free Agents and the Incoming Possibilities show next week. See you later. Or who knows what will happen next week. This week,
emergency podcast.
Mike Shildt at 9 a.m. The story posted on the San Diego Union Tribune from faithful scribe Kevin Acey that Mike Shildt retired from Major League Baseball. Bye-bye. Mike Shildt retiring after 2 seasons and 183 wins as Padres manager. Guys, your top line thoughts, please.
I didn't have it on my bingo card. That's for sure. The whole retiring thing, I just want to make sure I understand it. I just want to repeat it back to you, because some people were saying like this is, like you can't fire me, I quit sort of energy, which I'm not saying that's not what this is, but by retiring, Mike Shildt is technically forfeiting the remaining 2 years of his contract. Is that not correct?
Unless there is a settlement we do not know about, yes.
So I think Occam's razor says to me that he really is retiring. Like if we're just going with the simplest explanation, it's you take him at his word, which he put out a statement, and I was trying to pull it up, and maybe you guys want to have one of you have it in front of you. But
I'll read it in a little bit. Yeah, that'll be fine.
Okay, but he cited the severe mental and physical toll of the job at a certain point, and if you're willing to believe that he means what he says, and you're also taking into account that he's walking away from multiple millions of dollars by doing what he did, that's probably what happened. Because like if he was going to get shit canned, they could have fired him and they would have had to pay out his contract. So, I don't know. Is there, and I'm sure we will discuss, are there larger things about managing the Padres specifically that would create a mental and physical toll as opposed to any of the other 29?
Well, sure, because you have to do the job wearing Voldemort on your head if you're the first manager, and then if you're the second manager, you have to be a charlatan who writes books, and then if you're the third manager, you have to be a werewolf. Yeah, this is all.
It's very difficult.
He did not say he is retiring from baseball. The first line of the letter, it is with a heavy but full heart that I am announcing my retirement from managing the San Diego Padres. That is a distinction.
It's wild.
And it is wild. But what I will say, and my Discord comments from the past couple weeks will back this up, is that I am not stunned. Like, I was not 100% sure Mike Shildt was going to be the manager of the 2026 Padres. Like, what mechanism that would take place, I was kind of leaving open to possibilities. But how this season ended and Mike's kind of attitude throughout the season, and actions throughout the season made me feel like it wasn't going to be a seamless, next step up to next year, right? And so when I saw this, I was very surprised, and the form it's taking place in is very, very unusual, but I'm not stunned. And I also take him at his statement's word. 162 games is a lot. The travel is insane. Every single profile on Mike Shildt has been that of a guy who dedicates himself completely to the game, not married, and this is his life. And I'd imagine it is absolutely exhausting. And, before anything else is said, I don't know Mike Shildt personally, levied a lot of critique, levied a lot of praise to Mike Shildt during his tenure as a Padres manager. And I sincerely wish him the best and a long, happy life.
So what Raphie said is where I got to start, because so much of the discussion, and nationally, in the first 2 hours after this announcement came out, was about AJ Preller. And it wasn't about Mike Shildt. So it's got to be said again. Mike Shildt, according to the reporting that my Google search came up with, is forfeiting $4 million by retiring from the San Diego Padres. He has a $2 million a year salary. We don't know if that went up in a contract extension, but that's what's just the available report. So that's $4 million that Mike Shildt is walking away from. I don't know about you, but I would have a hard time walking away from any job that was A, one of 30 in the world, and B, paying me a guaranteed $4 million the next 2 years. Because if I got fired, on May 15th of 2026, I'd still make the full $4 million over the course of my contract. If the general manager is forcing me out because he doesn't like X, Y, or Z about me, I'm going to make damn sure that I get every penny of the $4 million, because I'm not leaving because I want to. I'm leaving because you want to. So him giving up the money, follow the money. This is a Mike Shildt decision. This is not a San Diego Padres decision. And that's the first place I really wanted to just put a bold line down on the show. For everybody who's like, AJ's too tough to work with. This is and what is it? Fourth manager in 6 years? Green, Tingler, Melvin, Shildt, right? From 2019 to 2025.
Fourth full time, yeah.
Right? Green, right. Wait. Yeah, there was some like in betweener. Was there an in betweener?
Yeah. Was
Well,
there interims?
that guy didn't get the job.
Nobody? Yeah.
I don't think there was. Pat Murphy was the interim between Black and Green.
Black and Green, yeah.
Yes.
But yeah, no, it's been full seasons for everyone else. So Green, Tingler for 2 seasons, Melvin for 2 seasons, Shildt for 2 seasons. And that creates a very easy narrative. If you're working for AJ Preller, you better get it done in 2 seasons or else it's not going to happen. But I would argue, and I think this is the right forum to argue in a longer form about it, that you have to look at what those 2 seasons were. Okay. AJ Preller had his get me to contention manager. That was Andy Green. He hired him to be the steward through the bad years, knowing that he would be gone when the team got good. And Andy Green fulfilled his promise. He did 4 seasons watching very bad Padres teams. And he had that really cool speech in 2019 about when they got their asses kicked by the Dodgers about, today it's nothing, but then it'll be a series. Then it'll be a season series. Then it'll be the division, blah, blah, blah. And those are still used in hype videos. That's cool. Okay, so take it to there. Up to that point, AJ Preller had made his go crazy Preller's winter in 2014, had Preller's denouement in the winter of 2015.
Preller's folly.
Yeah, Preller's folly. That's better. And
Preller's boner.
And then had 4 years. And then he had 4 years of a dedicated build, right? To get to the 2020s. That's a whole separate thing, right? Put that aside. Now you get to his first big manager choice, and he just whiffs. He picks Jace Tingler. He picks a friend. He picks a confidant.
He wore that gator, though, man. He wore that little COVID gator that didn't actually stop any COVID from getting spread.
And I learned that Jace Tingler is like super intimidating in person, and like maybe AJ Preller just got cornered by Jace Tingler. Like, we don't know. This could have been the rationale the entire time, like just fear of violence.
Nonetheless, Tingler took over for a fake season that doesn't exist and led the Padres to the playoffs there. And then Jace Tingler managed in 2021 when the club was incredible and up to 17 games over 500 at multiple points in the season, and then went, if my memory serves me right, 12-31 down the stretch. And it was a team that looked like it was going to make the playoffs. And instead, it became a team that missed the playoffs entirely. And because of that, the most historic collapse ever, Jace Tingler had to be fired in the winter of 2021. He had to be, because he was an example of AJ Preller's overreach at that moment, right? AJ had gotten too big. And even though he had gotten so big and so mistaken that many clubs would have let him go, and of course, Bob Melvin, Dennis Lin and Ken Rosenthal did the whole big crabs in a pot story about Preller and his stuff in winter of 2021. Nonetheless, Peter Seidler wasn't going to let him go. So instead, they brought the adult in the room, and they went and they hired Bob Melvin. And Bob Melvin comes into San Diego and takes the team to the NLCS in the first year. But he still didn't really kind of shine as the manager of the year that year. But still, he was good. And then the next year, the team creates the single biggest payroll in Padres history. Does something utterly unprecedented in the history of the franchise. Goes right up next to the Dodgers in spending. And the team spends the whole year under 500 until they go 14-2 at the end to pathetically get to 82-80 and miss the playoffs. And Melvin and Preller, unsurprisingly, in the most stressful situation the Padres have ever created in franchise history, they don't work together well. They don't get along. And Melvin leaves to go take the Giants job, and Preller says, cool, you can leave. Go take the Giants job.
And
So
we are
we're through
hearing about that all year. We're hearing about that via various outlets the entire season.
100%. So, again, just to get us to where we are, Green was the steward. He got let go at the appropriate time. Preller overreached. He reached for a boutique pick. It completely failed in the most calamitous season in Padres history, 2021. A change was forced. They went to the adult in the room. Melvin comes in, does okay. Then, in the most important season ever, Peter Seidler's death year, the most expensive payroll ever, the team has its most disappointing, underwhelming season ever. And all this happens. Now we get to here, where, if depending on who you believe, AJ Preller maybe didn't have full selection of either Melvin or his next pick, Mike Shildt, the guy who was the company man, the guy who was in the organization for 2 years, working behind the scenes, building player relationships. And Mike Shildt comes in full of everything that is Mike Shildt, the ebullience, the passion, the teamwork. We're going to pull on the same rope, the same direction, all of that. And the Padres go out in 2024 and have the second best season in Padres history and, get beat by the Dodgers in the playoffs. But an incredible team all the way around. And then this year, Shildt comes back, wins 90 games again. But guys, all the way through the season, at what point was Mike Shildt the happy, confident leader of the San Diego Padres? At what point did he show serenity, security, confidence, a Phil Jackson-like zen that allowed him to push through? Or was he on the fucking edge of his seat every day, pissy little comments, always on the edge, always defensive, always in a crouch? That's how I felt he was the entire season.
Like even when they were 14-2. Yeah, go ahead, Raphie.
Yeah. No, I was just going to say, like, they I think if anything, the retirement and the subsequent mental and physical toll thing makes a lot of the post-game press conferences make sense, where he's like getting snippy with people and like, oh, how would you set the lineup if it was your team, and like everything like that, and just kind of being a little bit of a dick, like, and I do appreciate that there is a severe mental and physical toll that is part of the game. I do also want to say that I did post, there's a really lovely video of Pat Murphy talking to the media, all the Japanese media, and one by one having them introduce themselves and their name and so nice to meet you and everything. And I'm like, that guy's playing in the NLCS and he's played more games and he's kind of being nice right now. Like, I don't know. So, I don't know, man. Like, so it just does make me wonder, like, were there terms that were set that were like, you need to behave yourself in a certain way, and if not, then you need to leave or something, but then wouldn't he get fired? I don't know, man. My brain's getting racked.
Yeah, my first instinct that, isn't using my brain is that we are coming out of the weekend. We're coming off of a week where we got to see the division series get played out, and the Padres were having all the meetings that we know they have every year, the debriefing of the season, so to speak. And the fallout of those debriefings happens today.
Does it? I mean, so the reason I went to that lengthy kind of like TikTok of the managers AJ Preller has hired is to indicate that it is less a narrative of AJ Preller is an unworkable general manager that burns out his managers in 2 years, and much more of, if you look at the actual who was it, what were the years they managed, what happened. At each point, the first 3 times, there was a perfectly valid reason to move on. For Green, the stewardship was over. For Tingler, he was overmatched and he shepherded the worst collapse in Padres history. For Melvin, he stewarded the most disappointing season in Padres history, and he's the only one of the group that you can definitively say had a beef with AJ Preller. And then you've got Mike Shildt, who now has gone to 2 different stops in the National League. And in both places, he's been a 90-win manager. And in both places, he's been out after, in St. Louis's case, 2 full seasons, a COVID season, and an interim. And for us, 2 full seasons, but 2 other seasons behind the scenes. So within 3 to 4 years, Mike Shildt has gone from the person chosen to lead a major league organization to a person that's out, and he's had success. Guys, this just doesn't happen. This does not happen. Successful managers win awards, get extensions, and stick around. Mike Shildt was successful in one of the most loyal cities in baseball, and both parties moved on. Then he comes here, and now I'm doing my air quotes from Say Anything, he retires from baseball, yet puts in a tweet or a text to Dennis Lin, I can't wait to teach, which tells me he's going to be on a baseball diamond like in a week.
He never said he retired from baseball. That is not mentioned.
Right, he retired from the Padres.
Of this. Yeah.
But man, they didn't fire him. Like, that's the thing I just can't get past. The $4 million question.
And Raphie, like,
all of this.
When I bring my brain into it, short of the gut, like, oh, look at how this lined up, it makes perfect sense that the dude's just kind of done in his position. There could be any number of things that make the job really hard. It's really hard in and of itself, just the facts of the matter. And then we have rumors, and not just rumors, really, reporting on the Padres organization sometimes having tension and conflict within it. And I won't say his name on here, but a national baseball writer who happens to shit stir all the time began his shit stirring anew today, saying that there had been conflict within the organization all season long, and baseball executives were wondering about his future in baseball. But the money is a big thing, and what I land at is this is Mike Shildt's call, and we are going to see a profile in a few years about Mike Shildt that helps explain what's going on. Like, when he gets his next job, when he's the 63-year-old guy who gets hired somewhere else, the team that's just coming out of the rebuild but isn't achieving as they expect to, they go to Mike Shildt. Hey, he's number 20 on Major League Baseball's all-time winning percentage for managers over X amount of games or whatever. They're going to turn to him, and then we're going to get some honest reporting about this situation. And I do feel like Mike Shildt's not much of a bullshitter. I feel like he's not straightforward all the time, but I don't see him as like a slick liar. I see him as a dude who wants to do the job to the best of his ability, and he's feeling like doing that is messing him up.
When this first started, I was thinking about this show, and I was thinking that one of my discussion topic questions to you guys was going to be to create 3 bins. One bin being Mike Shildt's words should be taken at face value. He is, exhausted. He has drained himself, and he's retired, and just believe believe Mike. Second bin is Padres problems, right? AJ issues, Melvin redux, power play, subterfuge. I've subsequently, and in the previous, diatribe I had, I feel like I've closed that bin. I want to close that bin. I just don't think it's true. My third bin was kind of what Chris is poking around here. Like, there's something else to the story. And I personally think right now, my inclination is towards bin one. That Mike Shildt is telling the truth about what he's saying. I'll offer some evidence to that momentarily. The other one would be there's something about this guy that we just don't know. And it wasn't reported in St. Louis because he got out of there. And something's happened again. And he's getting out of there before the wave crashes. That to me is the number one reason why someone would walk away from $4 million. If I was feeling burnt out at the end of a long season, I would consider going to therapy. I would consider spending some of my $2 million yearly salary on a vacation.
That's what Cancun's for. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I would consider a month-long trip somewhere, and I would consider everything other than forfeiting $4 million and my one of 30 global managerial positions as a head of a Major League Baseball team. However, if I had, and I want to be clear, I have absolutely neither no reporting nor any off-the-record discussion or anything, okay? This is just...
Beware. Rampant speculation incoming. Speculation.
Precisely.
This is a speculation segment.
If I was somebody who had some stuff going on and I've been kind of dancing ahead of the storm for a little while and shit might be about to get real or might feel like my check's about to come due in a really bad way, that might be a reason I'd walk away from $4 million is to avoid $40 million of problem. I just, back to Raphie's Occam's razor, I'm like, yes, I agree. This is the simplest explanation, but also, why do you walk away from $4 million? You're a single 56-year-old dude, childless. You're not going to spend time with your family. And I'm not saying that as a pejorative, okay? It's just who he is. It's reality. He was married. He's not married. He has no children in his life. He's 56 years old. He is a baseball lifer that grew up shining the shoes of single-A players. All right? Like, he's walking away from a 1 of 30 job and $4 million guaranteed money because he's burnt out. It's hard for me. It's hard for me. I do understand people who get into great jobs, great positions with incredible salaries and feel incredible pressure. And they say, listen, you think from the outside, but I know from the inside. So I probably need to be willing, guys, to give Mike Shildt that grace that maybe the job is so incredibly stressful that he is literally not cut out for it, even though he's actually good at it. Or do I?
Yeah. It's $4 million, man. It's just like, I can't, I don't know. Maybe I'm getting too hung up on the money. And if I don't know what his career earnings are.
Aren't we shooting it kind of low at $4 million? We don't know the terms of the contract. At the time, it was reported that he was among the higher paid guys. And that would be more than that. I'm just saying it's $4 million minimum. And would it... There's just too much unknowns. Like the known unknowns are big, but the unknown unknowns in this situation could be massive. I mean, it's like when Barry Sanders stepped out, but then you're going like, well, yeah, that guy gets tackled 5,000 times a year and like he wants to walk for the rest of his life. That makes sense. Mike Shildt ain't looking at that.
Sorry, I didn't mean
no,
to go.
please.
I was like, well, while I was here, I was just Googling Tony La Russa, Mike Shildt, because someone, I can't remember who had posted in our Discord, and they had said that, Tony La Russa had heard that Mike Shildt was toxic in some ways, but had never experienced it himself. So I was trying to verify that, and I happened to stumble upon a Reddit thread in the Cardinals subreddit that someone posted 2 months ago that said, Padres fan here, why did you guys fire Mike Shildt? And it's just all these, Cardinals fans that are kind of weighing on the different things. Interestingly enough, they were like, we didn't like his bullpen management. We did this, that, and the other. But the unifying thing is he wouldn't be a yes man to John Mozeliak, the general manager of the Cardinals, who is now stepped down, actually. And I just think that that's interesting in the context of what the reporting has been around AJ Preller, which is he puts yes men around him and he wants a yes man culture. And I don't know if AJ made it impossible for him to work with or whatever, but I also, that being impossible to work with for Mike Shildt could also be that Mike Shildt is unreasonable. And
Correct.
all the reporting that we've seen today from Kevin Acee and from other outlets, and I think even Jake Peavy was on MLB Network today talking about this, and Jake Peavy is an employee of the Padres organization, and he said Mike Shildt had lineup control. Mike Shildt had like a ton of like control that a lot of managers don't have in baseball. And so if you want to know why Luis Arias was batting second, it was Mike Shildt. If you want to know why the lefty lane was there, it was Mike Shildt. And, that probably did not jive with a lot of what baseball ops wanted. And, maybe AJ and Mike had an understanding when he got hired 2 years ago. And it was, I'm going to have this control. And then Mike had the control and they were not happy with it. And then they are now at the point where, they kind of finally came to loggerheads. But it just goes back to the money, man. Follow the money. That's just the one thing that doesn't add up in all this.
100%. The money is what I'm going to keep bumping against. So just to answer my own question, I completely closed the AJ conspiracy bin, and I'm going to fill 63% into the Mike Shildt is actually burned out bin, and I'm going to put 37%
two
into
of my chips.
Yeah. Into there's something else that either is never going to be reported or will be reported down the line in a weird ass story. But the reason I really say that,
I'll keep bringing it up. Like, just don't forget the poll of the players. Like, Mike Shildt was really high on the managers that Major League Baseball players would never play for. And there were so few responses to that question because MLB players don't want to cause drama. They don't want to shit stir. They don't want to do that. That ain't above them. But Mike Shildt was really high on that list. That ain't nothing.
It's very interesting. I look, I'm 53 years old. My life is my own. I've lived it. I feel like there's one thing that I've always felt like I have the ability to do in my life is to just get kind of a feel of somebody, like a vibe. And it's to character. It's to who are you? Are you someone I could, mix with and others? And I think you guys kind of know how I'm set as a person. And the vibe I've always gotten from Mike Shildt was that he was an extraordinarily insecure person. And to the level that I thought he was kind of a weird dude. I will tell you from like day 6 of the Shildt tenure, when I was working at the flagship station, I started hearing from people. Not like, oh, I'm telling some big story. It's all the stuff we've always talked about, that this guy's weird, that he could make you uncomfortable, that interactions with him sometimes were unpleasant, but not in the classic way of somebody being a dick, instead of being like a little squirrely or a little circuitous, or, hey, cuz I'll answer the question. I don't know why, but I'll answer it. Like all of that stuff. And like from the beginning, it was like, well, he's winning, but I mean, I remember when the team was a little bit under 500 and people were like, Shilt's out of here, man. Like he's going to be gone right away. So I don't know if Mike Shildt is somebody who on a personal level is able to really jive in the baseball world, or if there's some part of him that will just always be an outsider. No matter how inside he is, he's one of 30. And he still feels like the ultimate outsider in terms of a guy who can't relate.
Mike Shildt is one of 6 all time. I went back and read AC's profile about him when he got hired. One of 6 all time Major League Baseball who was the non-owner of a team to manage a team without having played professionally at any level. 6. Like that. In baseball, just think of it, guys. Like, how many perfect games? There's 20 something. In a game as old and as varying as baseball, there are very few things that have that sort of frequency to them. And yeah, dude, he's always going to be an outsider because he's a unicorn.
Is that something, Raphie, that he just can't overcome at the end of the day?
Well, I mean, one of the things that I posted a poll in our Discord today, because I was curious where our Discord audience was at, and in the poll, the questions were basically I gave 4 options, which were do you believe it was the mental and physical toll? Do you believe that AJ Preller pushed him out? Do you believe that Eric Grupner pushed him out? Or do you believe that there was like an other? And, what if so, what's the other? And I want to shout out Chaloa, who picked other. And he said, I would default to the first choice, meaning severe and mental physical toll. But for the sake of takes, maybe managing this collection of players is a nightmare. And I don't know that is 100% the case, but I can think of a few clubhouses where a person who has never played the game professionally would have less respect than the Padres, where you have veterans, where you have flamboyant young players who, one of whom is the son of a major leaguer. If he doesn't have, he may not have that veteran status himself, but obviously, he's literally lived his entire life with a major leaguer. And so literally it's, who is this guy to come in and be like, not only like I'm the boss, but also like I am the torch of the old way of baseball, and I'm about the old school game and everything. And they're like, bro, who the fuck are you? Like, actually. They might actually respect him more if he was more pro analytics and like this, that, and the other, because at least he's symbolizing some sort of new way. Instead, he was Mr. Grit Squad. And I just think when you've got Manny and Xander and Tatis and Merrill and Musgrove and all these guys who have been in the game for as long as they've been in the game, and it might have been hard for him to maintain respect. But again, it's just, this is all speculation.
Yeah.
Rampant, even, one might say.
I want to offer up, a speculatory reason for the money, right? Mike Shildt has made a lot of money managing Major League Baseball. And I think about this with acting all the time. I think about, like, what do I need to have in my bank account to be absolutely fine living in Bird Rock and having a boat where I take people out and make a tiny bit of money, bringing people fishing, and not having to deal with this, the acting stuff whatsoever. And my amount isn't that high, guys. Like in the bank, like if I had Mike Shilt's annual salary in the bank, I'm probably cashing out and, putting my money to work for me for a degree and living a fairly modest life. Like, I don't need sports cars. I don't need nice watches. I need enough to get good Mexican takeout 4 nights a week. And I'm going to be absolutely stoked. And at the end of the day, that could be it too. Mike could be packing up for North Carolina, living in the absolute 1% of people there, knowing he's done what he's did. And if the situation ain't absolutely perfect for him, and he doesn't think that his competitive goals are going to be reached in the next few years under whatever the Padres are planning to do. Years on the beaches of the sandy coastal Carolina sounds good.
Nope. Sorry, I was going with you on the road there for a good portion, but I just went over the cliff.
My shot.
Yeah, but I just took it over the cliff right there. Mike Shildt. I keep coming back to this. I'm sorry. There are 30 big league managerial jobs in the world. 30. He had one of them, a winning one, with a guaranteed salary for the next 2 years. This dude is not resigning on philosophical differences. Oh, I don't think I'm going to be given the opportunity to do my very best job possible. No fucking way. He would stick it out, take the money, and win as many games as he could.
So, like, does that include stress of having his lineup filled out for him? Does that also include in the
well, hang on. Let's dive into this. Is that
not the same thing?
Okay, according to a man who's around this team every day, and we're going to lean into Kevin Acee here for a minute, not in a bad way, in terms of what he said today. Okay, what he wrote, but what he said. Kevin Acee made an appearance on the Foul Territory show, like within 2 hours of this story coming out. And of course, if you read Kevin's story, he wrote it in Kevin's style, which is to announce something that's brand new and shocking in a tone of, I always knew this and you should have too.
Yeah. Despite writing just last week that Shildt wasn't going anywhere, Shildt will remain. His spot is virtually guaranteed. Yeah.
I'm right about that, aren't I, Raphie?
You insipid little cretin.
This is literally how he started it. He literally started it like it was a fucking movie script. Mike Shildt stood in the corner of the visiting clubhouse at Wrigley Field after the Padres' final game of 2025. He spoke in a soft voice about the love he had for his players and the culture that had been built in his 2 seasons as manager. He was devastated and proud and tired, and he was done.
Jesus fucking Christ.
Unbelievable. He was fairly certain of that as he looked around the room that night. 9 days later, he made his retirement official.
I do want to shout out MTL Ryan and our very own Tevin McReynolds, who posted that this was the greatest sack bunt of them all.
Right. Runners at second for the Padres now with 1 out. Can somebody knock him in? Shilty's done his job. Okay. Here's what Mike Shildt said himself in his letter to the world. And I'm not going to read most of it's pablum, but here are the parts that matter. He, as you said earlier, it is with a heavy but full heart that I'm announcing my retirement from managing the San Diego Padres. Not from baseball, not from managing.
Nope.
From managing the San Diego Padres. It is a decision that I thought about during the season and became at peace with over the last 10 days. I gave every fiber of my being to help achieve Peter Seidler's vision of bringing a World Series championship to San Diego. We fell short of the ultimate goal, but I am proud. Blah, blah, blah. Here's the next key part. The grind of the baseball season has taken a severe toll on me mentally, physically, and emotionally. While it has always been about serving others, it is time I take care of myself and exit on my terms. And then the rest of it is, appreciation and da-da-da. But he does say, I look forward to what's next, for what God has next. Man is not leaving baseball. He is leaving the Padres. I have summarily dismissed the idea that he's trying to be the high horse. No, I'm leaving $4 million because I think I could do it better, and you're not going to give me what I need over the next 2 years. I refuse that one.
Yeah, you said it was over a cliff, but the man mentions Peter Seidler, who was never alive during his tenure as Padres manager. He doesn't say the Seidler family's commitment to winning a championship. He says Peter Seidler.
He does. And I mean, he worked for him for a couple years, but that can also just be the same shit that we heard from the Padres all last year, where they invoked Peter Seidler's name at every moment of stress because it's an unimpeachable name. I'll bring up Peter Seidler. I was trying to follow Peter's vision. I mean, I think I would write that too if I was leaving his position. I was trying to do what Peter wanted. We came up short, but I'm so proud of what we did. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, now, on Foul Territory, Kevin Acee said two things that I thought were very, very interesting. And you can go find these clips if you want on social media or wherever. The first was a personal anecdote from Acee, where he said, in all of my time before NFL, after NFL, I have never covered a manager with a worse work-life balance than Mike Shildt. And he continued on to say, Mike Shildt is 56. He is single. He's childless. And from what I experienced and saw and reported, all he did for 2 years was work, sleep, work, sleep, work, sleep, work, sleep. And it's almost impossible for anybody to exist in a situation where there is no you outside of yourself, the work self. If you subsume yourself into only your work, you will burn out. So that is something that Kevin Acee said on the record. He's never seen anybody ever in his reporting career with a worse work-life balance major league manager than Mike Shildt.
Oh, but come on. We just read a 3-page profile on AJ Preller that said the exact same thing minus basketball. Like, does Mike Shildt just need to find himself a pickleball court to complete his life? Man, I don't buy it.
Quite possibly. Here's the other thing he said, though. Because Kevin was asked a question right along the classic narrative line that we talked about the first 2 hours after this announcement, which was, is this about AJ? Is AJ too hard to work with? Is AJ too hard to work for? Is this an impossible situation for a manager? And Kevin kind of stopped down the interview and he said, I just want you to know that most of the narratives around AJ Preller are false. He said that literally. He goes, most of the narratives around AJ Preller are false. And then he went on to say very specifically, Mike Shildt got to fill out the lineup for the San Diego Padres. And AJ Preller might come up to him in an afternoon and go, hey, what do you think about this? And then he might come back another day and say, hey, remember that thing I said? But he did not say, here's the lineup. I just printed it and sent it from my phone to you, and you're going to write it down on the Major League lineup card. He said, in fact, Acee went on to say that the Padres manager in general has more autonomy than most managers in modern Major League Baseball. And as such, that this should be considered one of the biggest plum spots of the open managerial, when the Braves are open, the Orioles are open, but the Padres are now open. And he said that one of the reasons why this would be one of the best spots for a manager is you get more autonomy at San Diego. That yes, AJ is relentless, but he also gives you your lane to operate. So
the lefty lane?
The lefty lane. And then Mike just ran right through it. That's exactly right. 3 for 26. Never forget. That's why you're out of here, buddy. But, so I got to put all that out there because Kevin's the one who broke the story. And then he wanted to make sure to go on a national show to say that Mike Shildt had the worst work-life balance ever. And that actually the manager's position in San Diego is not a place where you're getting your thumb pressed down on the top of you all the time, but in fact is a collaborative position. And Mike chose to walk away from it.
It's bizarre, dude. It is San Diego Padres to a T. It continues. This franchise is just twisty turny story. My question would be, do you guys feel like it gives us a better shot to win in 2026? Because after all we talked about Mike Shildt and all of our criticism over how he handled this year, I can't help feel like Mike Shildt cost them regular season games with his lineup construction and his approach and his stubbornness. And I feel like if they have a candidate, whether in-house or outhouse, I don't think that's how that works.
Well, maybe not in the outhouse, but yeah.
Maybe I know that we don't want the outhouse candidate. I can't help but have optimism about 2026 today.
Probably, yeah. I mean, I think we'll talk next week about the suitors. And also by the next week, we'll have an AJ Preller press conference, which is going to be held over Zoom tomorrow.
Right.
Unconfirmed if Luis Campusano will be furiously masturbating during that press conference, but one can only assume.
Just nobody open that door. In Georgia, there is a door that must remain closed.
He just made a very special weed purchase this evening.
Yeah. So someone on Twitter, I think it's the Do You Like Dogs Twitter account, which is a Padres Twitter account, posted a GIF of Walter White just on the phone being like, I won. And it's Luis Campusano.
I mean, truly, his major league career might be resurrected within San Diego. That is factually true.
I know.
We've been really going at the why.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Well, I'll pick it up. I'll just now get to what I actually think.
Are you optimistic, Raphie? Are you optimistic?
Oh, yeah, sure. I think the team's better in 2026 over the full season than 2025 because they have a left fielder.
That's fair.
They're not going to have Luis Arise.
And
I think that there's I think there's a lot of question marks on the pitching side, but we have a whole offseason to talk about that. It's a good lineup.
I had gotten sick of Mike Shildt, and I think we experienced kind of the bumping up against that, and with our patrons and people going, hang on, you said you were big on Shilty, and 1 year of his abrasiveness and winning was interesting. A second year of his increased abrasiveness combined with a team that had spurts, but then honestly, for about 120 games was a losing team. You can really break it into long, mediocre stretches and short, white hot bursts for the 2025 San Diego Padres. The playoffs, it's not even just the playoffs. At some point in the middle of the season, Mike Shildt decided that bunting runners from first to second base was okay. And literally, Rob Thompson, who's led the Phillies to 4 straight playoff appearances, almost got fired last week for bunting one time, moving a runner from second to third late in a game, which it was almost defensible. It was far more defensible than 28 of the Padres sacrifice bunts this year.
We saw the Seattle Mariners have 6 opportunities to do what the Padres would have done every time in their series clinching win, 15 inning win over.
That's right. And they failed every time.
And they didn't do it. They didn't. They tried a couple times, but a couple times they didn't even try.
That's right. And I think the Padres would have won that game a lot earlier than the Mariners did, just to be perfectly honest with you.
I disagree.
Interesting. But nonetheless, at some point, Mike went from what he was last year. At the beginning of this year, for the longest time, Mike Shildt was Mr. I'm going to alternate my lineup no matter what. No matter who it is, I'm going to put the lefty in behind the righty and the righty behind the lefty. And then all of a sudden, at some point in the middle of the year, it became I'm bunting runners from first to second. I'll put 3 left-handers in a row. I'll put 4 out of 5 left-handers in a row. I'll argue with you if you think I'm wrong. I'll gaslight you at every turn. It was that type of behavior that made me go, who is this guy? Why is he being weird? Because a leader doesn't act this way. A leader doesn't constantly gaslight the people around him. That's not how a leader operates. And this man is clearly a leader. He's won 183 games in 2 years. Why is this not working? So bottom line for me, I'm not going to cry that Mike Shildt has left. I will recognize that our chance of winning 90 games has to go down because this guy is a iron lock. So we've gone from 100% winning 90 games to less than 100% to win 90 games. But as Mike T. Shiltenheimer, we could have won 98 games next year or 101 games and gotten to the playoffs and still fucked it up. And made obviously poor decisions that make it wrong. So I'm not mad at the universe that Mike Shildt has made this decision. It could potentially be beneficial, but, and we'll get into it more, but I'm going to tell you my flash feeling right now. And I'll say it right on the record immediately. This isn't a normal managerial hire situation. This is what you'd call a sudden change situation, meaning that everybody in the organization a week ago thought that things are proceeding apace. AJ's the GM, Shilt's the manager, Niebla is the pitching coach, Fritz is the bullpen coach. What are we going to do about the hitting coach? We'll decide, but we're moving forward. Now, boop, drop of a hat, snap of a finger, everything changes. That's not the same as a normal situation where a manager is worn out his welcome, is let go by the organization, and every coach under him knows, hey, he's out, I might be out too. Because of that, I truly believe that if he presses the issue, the first and probably only candidate for the Padres to be manager in 2026 is Ruben Niebla. Because if he wants the job and he pushes for it, if you don't give him the job, he's fucking gone. In 2 years, he's gone. And mentally, he might be gone that day. And he doesn't give you the 1,000% that he gave you in 2020, in 2025 and 24 and 23 and 22 and 21, because he's thinking about his next job, because he's like, fuck you, Padres. I've been waiting here. I've been doing the job. You know how good I am. Now, all of a sudden, the floor falls out from under you and you don't give it to me? And you give it to someone else? It's really hard. It's really hard to say, Ryan Flaherty, you deserve to be the Padres manager, and Ruben Niebla, you need to stay behind the guy who you used to be a coaching teammate with, and he's going to be your boss now. That's a tough sell to me. For Ruben Niebla specifically. And if we agree that Ruben Niebla is important, it might be almost a force hand situation that he has to be the manager.
It just depends on how much he wants it, right? Like, we've just seen reporting that he has the ambition. And if that's true, and if that ambition is deep, then if you want Ruben Niebla on the team even in 2026, I think it's got to be on the top step.
I think so, because, people were speculating, well, if you promote Niebla, then does that mean that Ben Fritz gets promoted from bullpen coach to pitching coach?
Yes, 100% yes.
I think
Maybe.
you think 100%? Yes.
I wouldn't put 100. Like, it's Ruben. Like, Ruben's got a Rolodex, baby.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I mean, like, Ruben worked with 15 guys in the Cleveland organization alone.
That's true.
Who probably are, he's like, guess what? I know the next Ruben Niebla, and so I'm going to hire him and bring him over. And so, like, if Ruben Niebla's the manager next year, I'm not worried about the pitching coach, because I don't think he's putting anyone in that position who he doesn't think could do the job as well as him. You know what I'm also not worried about? Fucking bullpen management, which is like the number one thing that the manager has to do 162 games in season and playoffs,
right.
Besides setting the lineup. So I don't know. I mean, like, again, like, I'd love to see who the candidates are. I'd love to see who the suitors are. We'll know more after this press conference, yada, yada, yada. But I think the Padres could do a lot worse than making Niebla the next manager.
I want to put up two other thoughts, and then we'll save the rest of it for either a group therapy later this week after AJ talks, if we consider it newsworthy enough, or for next week's show. Okay? I'll give you two other thoughts. The first, well, both of them are out there in the public sphere, so I'm not breaking anything, right? Okay. The first, though, is probably the one that the most people have talked about the most, which is a 1-year Bochapalooza. Bruce Bochy. I mean, look, shake your head and it's fine. It's fine. We can summarily dismiss him momentarily, but Bruce Bochy has won 4 World's Championships. Darren had an interesting thing on Section 1904 earlier today where he noted that for his entire ridiculously long career, Bruce is 12 games under 500. And it would be, he doesn't like that. And of course, he didn't solve that this year with Texas, so that was on him. But the idea of, for literally 1 year, Bruce Bochy walks in, manages the 2026 San Diego Padres. You get the full first-year Bochy effect. A la 2010 Giants, 2023 Rangers.
Even year Bochy.
And it's an even year for the Padres as well. You say 2027, there might be a work stoppage. We're just going to have Bochy go in 1 year, whole hog, his age 70 year, and he literally retires during the stoppage in 2027.
That's fun. That's very nostalgic, and nostalgia is a toxic impulse. That's all I'll say.
It's probably the only person who you could bring in that doesn't auto trump the Niebla card, I think.
Sure.
That gets the respect of he throws his 4 rings on the table and says,
right,
fuck you. Listen
I
to
think
me.
Ruben Niebla works for Bruce Bochy and is happy to do so. And I think AJ Preller and Eric Grupner can say to Ruben Niebla, we still think of you as a future manager of the San Diego Padres. But this is Bruce Bochy. It's 1 year. It's a magic moment. We know how important this year. It's Manny's age 33 year. It's Xander's age 33 year. It's Toddy's age 26 year. We need, this 1 year, and, stick around, stick and stay. There's one other guy that I think maybe Ruben Niebla would have the same feeling for. And I feel 100% confident would command the respect of the Padres clubhouse in a way that no manager other than Bruce Bochy in Padres history, in this modern Padres history, has done.
Norv Turner?
And that is a man, that is Norv Turner, the Minnesota Vikings offensive coordinator. That is correct. No, that is a man who has never managed one Major League Baseball game in his life.
I know who this is.
Albert Pujols. It's Albert Pujols.
Yeah.
Major League Hall of Famer, guy with 700 home run. How many homers did he hit in his career? 600, whatever homers in his career.
He hit 700.
He hit
700 homers in his career.
It was like 704 or something like that, 703.
Yeah. Manny Machado will never say boo to Albert Pujols,
703.
and neither will Fernando Tatis Jr., and neither will Xander Bogaerts, and neither will any veteran. If you want the anti-Shildt, the polar opposite, you go get one of the most respected Major League Baseball players in the history of the 21st century. And that is Albert Pujols. And you trump the Angels, who might just be lucking their way into a good hire.
Cares?
I know, who cares? But still, like, the Angels might be lucking their way into a good hire because they paid Pujols for 10 years to not do anything. But like, if you could just grab him, I kind of feel like, to me, he's toward the very top of my list in terms of, like, I feel like he would actually be a hand and glove fit for the San Diego Padres in 2026. And Niebla would run the pitching staff, so you wouldn't worry about him fucking up the when to take out a guy decision.
And he hasn't managed a major league game, but King Albert went to the Dominican and was managing Leones, and he managed them to titles in both the regular season and in the Caribbean series. So, that's, let's go small sample size, different sample size, but it wasn't a colossal failure. When he first got the job, I remember, like, 3 weeks in, the team was really struggling. Like, that transition was not smooth. But then, after those growing pains, that team came together. And my opinion is he's going to go to the Angels just because of the history. He's got a 10-year contract with the Angels or some sort of whatever. Like that's where I'm at. But of those two possibilities you put out, Craig, I like that one a lot more because I don't like burning a year just to try something fun and get Bochy to 500 or make it worse. But I do like a big swing, And
Do you
Albert
think he'd
Pujols,
actually be a good
biggest.
manager, though?
Like I feel like for the reasons Craig said, like Fernando Tatis Jr., I'm not sure is going to play for anybody outside his dad. Like how he played, like Tatis's only championship is playing for his dad, as his dad managing the game. And the last time before Bob Melvin got hired, you guys weren't hearing from me on a weekly basis, but that's what I was saying. I was like, you know what? We've got to build this team around Nando. He's the best player. We got to do what we can. Like, it's going to suck. It might be absolute poison in the clubhouse. It might be the worst move in history, but this is what you should do. And like, you can't bring him in to be the hitting coach. You can't bring Fernando Tatis Sr. in to be a hitting coach because then that just creates, that's poison for not in a way that's not worth it. But Albert fucking Pujols, his dad's former teammate, that's something.
A Dominican Republic all-time player. So
like Mount Rushmore of Dominican Republic.
Right. So just unimpeachable in terms of his impact and status. He's been in the big leagues for how long? He's won a world championship in St. Louis. I feel like I'm not worried, just like I wasn't worried about Craig Counsell becoming a manager. I wouldn't be worried about Albert Pujols becoming a manager. I'd be willing to take the dice roll on his growing pains.
Yeah.
Within the structure of the Padres organization, with so many veterans, as opposed to the Angels, where he has to get Logan O'Hoppe off his ass. Like here, he just has to roll out this lineup.
And like, I've speculated that a lot of the bullpen decisions, like, you got to think that Ruben Niebla is involved with that. And Ruben Niebla is going to take care of that stuff still. Like, that isn't going away if Albert Pujols is top step.
Well, more will be revealed.
More will be revealed. More will be revealed. We'll learn a lot more over the next week. In the paper, which is a website, these are the candidates they came up with. I'll just bring it out there and we'll talk about it more next week. And we're not going to get into all these guys, but they said internally, AJ Ellis, who's been a special assistant to the Major League staff for the Padres since 2018, Brian Esposito, who's been bench coach for the team, Mark Loretta, who we were talking about as maybe being Preller's replacement, if before we heard that Preller was safe. Niebla, Scott Service, the old Mariners manager, is in the organization. He was a special assistant this year. That's very Shilty, that he's been there for a year. He's had a year to get AJ's ear and AJ's heart. And then for external options, they did mention Pujols. They also mentioned Rocco Baldelli, of course, who was out in Minnesota. Ryan Flaherty, who used to be Flavor of the Month here. Nick Hundley, who just interviewed for the Giants job. Brandon Hyde, who was good before he was bad with the Orioles. Pujols, and David Ross, who most people think is going to be the Braves manager. David Ross, because he played for the Braves for a number of years. Like of all those external candidates, Pujols would be easily number one on my list. Like, I wouldn't rate any of those guys. Yeah, I agree. And on the internal list, it's Niebla, and every other guy I have a big fucking question mark about. Like, AJ Ellis has never done it. Why are we going to listen to it? Is a backup catcher who hit like 180 for his career going to command Manny Machado's respect? Like, necessarily? Jace Tingler didn't. Well, Bob Melvin was a backup catcher. Right. Bruce Bochy was a backup. But at least Bruce Bochy can throw the rings, though. Bruce Bochy can always just go.
How big is AJ Ellis's head? Is AJ Ellis's head really big? Questions that need to be asked.
No one's head's bigger than Boch.
We're going to pick the next Padres manager by phrenology.
Oh, no! Sorry, Albert's out.
Oh, no. Okay. That's going to be it for now. Mike Shildt is out. It's weird. We've gone through it. No one has any answers today. Tomorrow, Tuesday, which is probably when you're listening to this podcast or watching it on YouTube, we'll hear some from AJ Preller. As usual, it'll start with a yeah and a no, or a no and a yeah. And we'll get through that. If it's newsworthy and interesting, we'll be back with a group therapy later this week. Otherwise, we'll be back next week to talk about the fallout of it all, as well as starting to piece together what the Padres offseason off the field is more likely to look like. All of that still to come. Until then, for Chris Reed, for Raphie Cantor, I'm Craig Elston.
This has been an emergency podcast
Of the Padres Hot Tub Network. Go Padres.